What's going on, guys? This is Mr. Madrid here at the Mr. Madrid Show, and today we have an awesome guest who's a friend. She's been a friend for years. We actually met at a workplace 2010, but I thought it'd be awesome to bring her on the episode. She can provide a lot of value, specifically when it comes to business, to be more specific, wholesale real estate. So, without further ado, I give you Miss Denise Abreu. Welcome.
Hey, what an intro, bro. That was awesome. I feel so important.
Yes, you are important, and I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you for taking the time. I know that we spoke offline just a few minutes ago, and you let me know that you had a lot of things going on today, and you took personal time out of your schedule to meet with me. So I want to thank you in advance for that. But welcome to the show.
For sure.
Um, and what's up? How are you?
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud of you. I love that you're doing this, and I hope this grows and grows and grows so that you reach tons and tons of people because you're awesome. And yeah, so I mean, you're my brother from like day one. And I know you probably didn't want to date us, like our age, but it was a little bit before 2010, bro. It was like, oh, wait.
Yes. Yeah. Jesus
I
Christ. And
know
by
we're
the way,
getting
we
up there.
went to the same high school too, right? We didn't know each other back
Uh,
then.
no, we
We're not gonna
met
talk about that.
at work. We met
But
at
yeah, we
work.
know each other for years. What's cool about the story, just to give you some background, we got pregnant around the same time,
Hmm.
right?
Well, your wife got and I got
Yeah,
pregnant
she
around the same
decided to get
time.
pregnant. Yeah, my wife decided to get pregnant. And by the
We also
way,
got married the same year.
yes, disclaimer: me and Denise met at work, and then a few months later, my wife started working in the same place, and the rest is history. But yeah, we
I know.
had a kid around the same time. We got married around the same time. So there is a good bond there. I know her husband, real awesome, chill dude. Um, Beautiful kids. I see your kids all the time on social media, so God bless them as well.
Thank you.
Um,
Yours too.
but I wanted to bring you on here and just to get straight to it. I have a lot of interest in real estate. I hope to be one day an investor. Um, I don't really want to do the whole flipping of houses, but I'm speaking and not
Mm,
knowing what that all entails. So that's one of the reasons
yeah.
why I wanted to bring you on as well. But I am a homeowner. I bought my house maybe 2 years ago, FHA loan, which is amazing. You don't
Dope.
need much. Um,
Yeah.
and it's been a journey. It's been a journey learning how to do everything around the house, learning about escrow and how that can
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah. It's not
Uh,
over till it's closed and funded. That's what we
yes.
always say.
Yep. So all that stuff is crazy. So you are the director of acquisitions. What's the name of the company and what do you do there?
So the company is called Key Glee Holdings. It is like the largest wholesale company in the country with like over 138 franchises. But I work for corporate with directly with the owner, Jamil Damji, which is like the greatest mentor ever. He's amazing. He's a friend. He's a great leader. And I actually started with his mentorship back in 2021. And then he gave me the opportunity to work with the company in March of last year. So literally in just a year and change, it's been like a mastermind, and it's just exploded for me. It's changed my life. I come from, after we worked together at the store, I went to radiology school. I was in healthcare for about 10 years, and I got a little bit burned out with COVID in New York. It got kind of crazy over there. And then when we moved down here to Florida, we started exploring other options and looking into real estate. Down here, real estate is huge. There's still so much room for growth. And Ruben was initially the one that was supposed to take this and run with it. And I ended up falling in love with it and running with it.
That's
Like,
crazy because I saw you, when you used to wear scrubs. I would see little pictures here and
hmm
there. And then like you're now a full blown guru. Like Denise knows what she's talking about. You can see her on social media, the way she talks, the way she presents herself. She knows. That's one thing I'll tell you, Denise. Like, we should have said this off the record, but like, you are smart as hell. You are
Thank you.
smart. Like, she's a joker, you know, this, that, the night. But when she's focused, she zones in. She does not play about her chips.
Yeah, I
And then
go
when
hard or
she
go
falls in
home.
love with something, I mean, you can see it. It's obvious. But continue,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, once I saw the potential with this industry, I just couldn't wrap my mind around like trading so much of my time in the hospital for money. I mean, honestly, in the month of March of this year has probably been my best month so far, and I made more money in that month. I made enough money in that month to cover probably half of my salary that I was doing in a year as a radiology tech.
Wow.
And that was
Break it
one
down,
month.
Denise. Break it down. Break it down. What did you? All right. Let's
So,
zone in on that since you brought it up. Let's talk specifically about that month. Why was that month so successful? What led to that success?
honestly, it was so after the holidays, in January, like I just kind of hit the ground running, and I actually spoke to Jamil. I spoke to him and I told him like everything that I was going through mindset wise and everything, and he kind of just like recalibrated me and gave me some awesome like words of advice, and then I hit the ground running in January. In February, I filled up my pipeline like crazy.
Mhm.
Like I was getting deals left and right. And then in March, they all started closing, because usually the time frame between when you get the deal, sell it, and it closes is around a 3 week average, 3 to 4 weeks.
So just so people understand, wholesale is different than just a regular person like myself doing an FHA loan and going to buy a house.
Yeah,
Can you break that down? What
very different.
wholesale real estate is?
So, wholesale real estate, I'm typically dealing with investors. I'm not dealing with conventional buyers. I am dealing with sellers, but not retail sellers. I'm not going after properties that are turnkey, ready for the open market where they can get, regular top dollar on the MLS for. I'm going after the distressed properties, properties that won't even pass inspection. Maybe they need a new roof and the seller does not have the funds to pay for that. And they just need to get rid of the house. They need to move. They need to sell. They lost their job, whatever the case may be. Or maybe they just let the house kind of fall apart or they inherited it that way. And they just need a cash offer because no bank is going to finance that type of property. Distressed properties, banks won't finance them. So they need a cash buyer to come in and take over that property, fix it up, and put it back on the open market after it's flipped. So my job is to find those distressed properties. Basically, I find the ugly house on the block, and then I get it under contract at a price that I know is going to leave enough room for the buyer to make those renovations and be able to flip it back onto the market, and also a fair price for the seller for what their property as an appraised value, what their property is physically worth today, because we don't want to cheat anyone. I'm going to give them the highest offer I can give them within reason for the amount of work that needs to be done for that house. And then if I get that property under contract for 150, I'm going to try to sell it to my buyer for 160. That 10K in between is mine for putting the deal together. I'm the middle
So,
woman.
how do you, without giving away your secrets on how you get these things done, talk to me about the process of kind of finding the property. Like, is it something where you get in your car and you're looking for a
No.
property? Is it afterwards, once you find it, let's say it's done virtually, do you still have to visit, or is it something where you don't even have to be or basically on site at all?
I've closed about 42 deals in the last year, and I have not stepped foot in a single property that I sold.
Wow. So how is that done? Can you share that?
Sure. So I pretty much do it all virtually, and it's pretty much all relationship based. So I have built relationships with realtors, other realtors. I'm also a realtor here, licensed in Florida. I build relationships with other realtors to come to me as a resource when they have a property like this, when they have a distressed property like this that they know needs to be a cash offer. They'll reach out to me and say, hey, I have this property. Are you interested? How much would you need to pick it up for? I make them the offer. If the seller is okay with it, if the seller accepts, then I get it under contract. And then I'm going to send it to my buyers list and see if any of my buyers are interested.
Wow.
And that's pretty much it. I run my numbers like an appraiser. I learn the appraisal rules. So I pretty much just look at the recent sales in the area for the properties that are already fixed up, what they're selling for. And then I know that that's the highest potential that that property could get. And then I
That's
just
if it's
reverse engineer
turnkey,
it.
like ready to come in.
Correct. So like if it's going for 300,000, and I'll just estimate how much based on, the pictures. I get as much information from the realtor, or, if it's another wholesaler that's looking for me to help them plug in a buyer, I'll get as much information about the condition of the property, the age of the roof, the HVAC, water heater, all of that, so that I can run my numbers. And then I make the offer.
Wow. And typically, like in a normal situation, if a realtor comes to you, brings a property your way, and you give them the green light, how quick is that process? Like from the moment that you pick up the contract and then.
So usually we do an average of like a 7 to 10 day inspection period after we get the property under contract, meaning I make the offer, the seller accepts, signs the contract, and now we're executed under contract. And I have equitable interest in this property. So now I have that inspection period, those 7 to 10 days, to either try to make the deal work or cancel
Okay.
before my, deposit goes non-refundable.
Gotcha.
So if I can't make it work within those 10 days, I'll just cancel. If not, usually we close within 3 weeks because it's cash. So we don't have to wait for appraisals. We don't have to wait for bank approvals. We don't have to wait for any of that. My buyer's
It's
coming in with
cash on hand.
cash.
Wow. Okay. And then you're saying within 3 weeks. Has there ever been a situation where things may go south after the 10-day grace
A
period?
100%.
So what happens
Every
then? You just gotta.
transaction is like a roller coaster. Every single transaction, and nothing is over till it's closed and funded.
Yeah, that's.
Things can go wrong at title, things can go wrong with the buyer, things can go wrong with the seller.
So
There
how?
could be
So that it's
permit
common.
issues.
It's normal for things to go for hiccups to happen.
100%. Yeah. And just learning how to navigate them and work around them. Sometimes you have to extend, sometimes you need more time. And it's just keeping the communication open the whole time, just to try to get the deal to the finish line. So I'm the
Gotcha.
middleman I'm the glue that tries to keep everything together to get to the end.
So what do you think makes you as successful as you are? Like, what about your process is what is the reason behind your success and having such an amazing month like
Yeah.
that? What is it
Yeah.
about your work ethic that gets you there?
Well, as you know, we work together and we work together in sales, and I grind. I'm a hustler. Like, I'm always hungry. Like, I don't give up easily. I'm a people person. I love to talk to people. I love building rapport with people, and I try to communicate as best as possible. And I feel like that helps a lot because a lot of realtors and other wholesalers, if they feel understood, heard, and communicated with throughout the process, even though it gets hairy and scary, or we have curveballs coming left and right, and they see that I'm on the same page with them, we're on the same team, we both have the same goal, we're trying to get this to the closing table, I'm not trying to screw them over, like that keeps them loyal to me, that keeps them coming back, that keeps them continuing to want to work with me and bring me deals. Because a lot of the negative things that come around wholesaling is like a wholesaler will put a property under contract and then ghost them for the next like 2 weeks, and then just send a cancellation if they can't find a buyer,
Wow.
which leaves a bad taste in their mouth.
Wow. So I guess that's the reputation that your company has, where it's like
It's more
you don't.
relationship based.
And knowing you, I know how good you are at work in a room, or or just being social. And I would say, like, you were working at the store first than I was, and coming in, like, and something I thought that was awesome about you was you put me on. Like, you weren't afraid to say, hey, this is the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things.
Yeah.
And even when I was in the middle of a deal with a client, you would come in and say, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Like you gave me the tips and tricks.
A
And it's
hundred
cool to hear
percent.
that you have a mentor who's, you said he's the owner of the company,
Yeah,
who kind of did that for you and basically
yeah,
put that battery in your back to send you off to the races.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
I continue to do that also, like within my team with newer wholesalers, because I feel like mindset is everything. And just having that abundance mindset, like you can't have that in New York. We grew up with that scarcity mindset, like who's out to get me? What's the catch? Why are you being so nice? And where did that get us?
yeah,
Like
it really,
nowhere.
like you put up a barrier that makes it difficult for people to want to deal with you.
Exactly. So I've never been too much with the scare. I haven't been heavily on the scarcity mentality. Like I've always just tried to believe the best in people unless you burn me, like I give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But having a mentor, being in this industry and being a part of the company and the team and the culture that I am in has made me shed that even more. Like I have even more of an abundance mindset. Like I just want to give, and in return I feel like the universe just returns it back right back to me. Like I want to put everyone on. Like
Yeah,
once I
no
learned
problem.
this, I'm like, I just want to put everyone on. Like you guys have no idea how much money there is in this. Like, dude, like it's like I feel like I have the cure to cancer and I just want to share it with everyone.
Yeah, I remember like you sent me a message, like you were like, bro, you have to like at least take a look at this and see what's up.
Yeah,
And
because it's
I haven't, but
crazy.
I see
It's
you. Like
crazy.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I see your videos and I see you talking. You talk about buyers and investors, and I'm like, wow, Denise is really really flourishing in what she's doing. So I have
Because
been interested in, to learn. That's why I was like, I gotta
yeah,
get her on the pod. I have to, and I want to, you know, ask you questions about what you're doing and how you're doing it. So that's all
yeah.
super
I mean,
awesome.
it's really fun. It's not easy, but nothing is. Like it wasn't easy working at the hospital. It wasn't easy working at the store. Like you're always gonna have to hustle for anything that you get, but the reward is bigger
Yeah,
for the
talk
effort.
talk to me, and I don't like saying work life balance anymore.
Hmm.
What does your day to day look like? Like you have a family, you have a
Yeah,
husband, you live in
yeah,
Florida. Um, what is your day to day like? Talk to me about family, work, all of it.
yeah. So I get the luxury that I get to work from home.
Okay.
So that's awesome. It's given me a ton of freedom because when you work from home, you can technically work from anywhere. I could go to New York for a week and just bring my laptop. I could go to Dominican Republic, like wherever the heck I want. If I don't want to take the time off, if I can work, I'd still work and it's fine. It gives me a ton of freedom. Like today, the girls are off from school for the summer. They were getting a little bit of cabin fever in the house this morning, so I bribed them to do the dishes and and put their clothes in the laundry, and I would take them to the pool for a little bit. So
Yeah,
like around 1 o'clock after for lunch, I took them over to the pool. I brought my laptop with me. They were playing right there in the pool while I was working on my laptop in the cabana
that's so awesome.
for like 2 hours.
That's awesome. So
It
you have
makes
the
a huge difference.
flexibility. You basically, so you, as far as hours is concerned, obviously you don't have a set schedule, but there can be days where you're working late. You may have a buyer that's interested in something, so
Yeah.
you have to put in the legwork to have those moments where you can be flexible with your time, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's times where I'm already fully logged off for the day, and then I'll get a message like the buyer is ready to go. And I just have to like whip out my laptop real quick and just send out a quick email or whatever it is that I need to do. It's not
Wow.
anything crazy, but it's like there could be a $10,000 check on the other end of that email. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to whip out my laptop and get it done.
I hear you. I hear you. What as far as like, and I should have asked you this before, like, so I know that this was introduced to your husband first, Ruben. Shout out to Ruben, by
Hmm.
the way.
Yeah.
Um, I know this was introduced to him, but what made you go for wholesale real estate versus regular real estate? Like, what was it that pushed you towards what you're doing now versus, because when people think like I'm a realtor, you always think about
Yeah,
selling houses, rentals, dealing with all that stuff. It seems like
exactly.
you have figured it out what you're doing now, and you went the right route, because and there's a ton of
Yeah,
people that have their license, and eventually like it expires, they don't do nothing with it, and it just seems like you knew your path was straight. And I remember
yeah.
talking to you when you were like, you were going to do this. Everything that you said you were going to do is already done, and that's super dope. I love talking to people, and I love having people within my circle that are like that are all about
Yeah.
their business. They say they're going to do something, they go for it. I went off on a complete different tangent there, but what was it that led you to do the wholesale versus regular, the regular type of
Retail.
real estate that we're used to? Yeah,
Yeah. So, it really just boils down to like when I got introduced to my mentor and I joined his mentorship program. This is basically his business model. He's been doing this for over 7 years and thriving at it. And he explained how he works with realtors who are on the daily grind, because real estate for a regular conventional like retail real estate agent is a grind. They're doing showings, they're doing marketing, they're doing cold calls, all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
And the average realtor closes maybe 2 to 10 deals a year. I've
Meanwhile,
closed
you're closing
40.
40. Oh man, I have friends and family that are in real estate. Specifically, I have somebody who's down in Miami who I would love for you to meet, because she's always talking about. Well, I wouldn't say always, but she puts up stuff on social media every now and then, um, trying to attract investors. So I'm not too sure if she has a plug for who, whatever, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I see her, like she's going to showing, she's shooting the videos to see who's interested. The grind is real. So that's why
Yeah.
when you told me like you haven't even visited a location, I'm like, all right, are these people who I know doing something wrong, or is it they just like being
No,
outside the
everyone
house?
just has their path. Everyone has a different path. And you don't know what you don't know.
Gotcha.
Like I've spoken to realtors that have been in the game for years and they don't know about wholesaling. And they don't know that it's legal to wholesale as a realtor, because some brokers are super old school and they don't understand it, or they don't want to risk it, or they don't want to let their realtors do it because they don't understand it enough to know
Yeah,
that it's okay. All you have to do as a realtor is disclose it in your contract that you're licensed. That's it. We added on the additional terms on every single contract. Nobody ever bats an eye. We just disclose everything.
yeah. There's nothing to hide. It's crazy
There's
that you're
nothing to hide.
mentioning that, the fact that like you have a lot of people in positions of power that are so scared to think outside the box. Like,
Yeah.
um, I just gave my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks ago. Wednesday was my last day.
Congrats.
Uh, and I was working for a software development company. I was leading the department. I was the only one in the department. There was hopes to grow it, and I was going to be the supervisor, director, whatever you want to call it, for that, the sales development representative. And I built a book of business, whatever it is. My point being is that I was dealing with an outside sales coaching company that was just really behind the wheel. Like, I mean, behind the curve. They were not trying to do anything that involved thinking outside the box. They were so
Yeah.
stuck in their procedures of how to do things. And all I was asking for was sales navigator. That's it. That's all I wanted. I'm like, I do everything else. All I'm asking for is give me access to LinkedIn, like, on steroids. And that was one of the things that made me shy away from the company. And in
Yeah.
in your regard, like dealing with these realtors and brokers that are not open to that, like you're leaving so much
Yeah.
money, which is good for you actually,
So,
so much money on the
yeah.
table, and it's like you could be really scaling your business to another
Yeah.
level. So I agree with you, and it's not just in real
Yeah.
estate, it's in so many different walks of life within business.
There's a big disconnect in the real estate world between realtors and investors. And they need to understand that they can coexist. They should coexist. Because as a realtor, think about it. If you're only closing 2 to 10 deals a year conventionally, and you're spending all this money on marketing and cold calling and door knocking or however it is that you're prospecting, when you partner with a buyer, with an investor that is constantly buying properties, you could be closing 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month easily, because
Wow.
investors are always buying. They're always buying. Whether the market is high or the market is low, investors will always buy. They're just going to adjust their numbers accordingly. That's
That's
the difference.
that's interesting. You just led me to something else. So everybody is talking about this recession. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has different opinions about
Yeah.
where we are within the recession. I'm not big into politics. I'm not going to even get into
Yeah.
that. It's always one of those
Neither.
things. My personal
Exactly.
opinion is regarding a recession is I think we're in a recession, but
Yeah.
that's I'm not a I'm not a doctor in the financial industry. Like
Yeah.
I'm not one that knows a lot of stuff. It's just looking at the
Mm-hmm.
way things are going, inflation, this, that, the next. So being that and disregarding my opinion with the recession, let's say we are in the brink of a recession. How beneficial is it to have a person like Denise Abreu by their side during a recession if you have a couple of dollars to do some things?
Yeah. This is when you buy. When everyone's scared
Yeah.
is when you buy. When everyone feels like it's the world is peachy fuzzy, rainbows and safe and the market
Mhm.
is skyrocketing, that's when you sell.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's when you sell. That's when you're gonna get top dollar. But when everyone's panicking, interest rates and everyone's panicking, we're in a recession, inflation. If you have some money, this is when you buy,
Gotcha.
because this is when you're gonna get the best deals,
Yeah. This is when people get
because
desperate
people are scared. Exactly.
or so. Is there
Foreclosures are at an all-time high.
right now?
All-time high. Oh yeah, especially in
Wow.
Florida.
So
Foreclosures are at an all-time high.
so let me ask you this question. I'm familiar with like things like the forbearance, and that's one of the things that I thought that would lead to a recession is so many people after COVID that couldn't
Mhm.
weren't working, couldn't
Yeah.
make ends meet. They did this forbearance, which was part of the CARES Act, I think. And
Mhm.
don't hold me to it, viewers. I think it was part of the CARES Act. We'll touch on that later. I'll do my research, but I'm almost positive it was part of the CARES Act. Um,
Mhm.
and then it's like when things went back to normal, people still haven't been paying their mortgage. So, do you think that that was a big portion to these foreclosures? Like
Yeah,
people going on
when
forbearance and
when they
still not?
raised the forbearance, yep, a lot of people went into foreclosure because think about it. The average person, if they don't have to pay their $1,700 mortgage a month, they're not going to put it away in savings.
Yeah,
They're going to use it for, and especially when everything else, the cost of living, groceries, everything else is so inflated.
yeah,
They need it to make up, to compensate
yeah,
for other things.
yeah,
So when those were lifted, a lot of people were caught with their pants down, because people don't think about the future. They think about the right now. Oh, relief right now, I'll take it.
yeah,
But they don't prepare for the future, or other things can happen, other curveballs, loss of employments, whatever the case may be. Florida is a right to work state, so
yes,
no one's safe
yeah. They'll
at their
fire you in
employment
a heartbeat.
in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
So, and in a recession, the people who suffer the most is middle class,
Yeah,
the backbone of America. So that's kind of like another reason why I decided to go towards real estate and try to start building some more generational wealth, and set myself up to beat this inflation, to beat this recession, because people who are just regularly working 9 to 5 right now, regular jobs, trading their time for money, are struggling, and they're the ones who get hit the hardest.
yeah. And I'll be honest with you, like I with this podcast, I'm trying to get creative and I'm trying to provide value for the listeners, the viewers, even if it's one person that walks away and says, hey, what Denise
Yeah.
said just inspired me, or they're a
Mm,
potential, client of yours, whatever it may be, that fulfills me as the individual, right? But
yeah.
I'm in the rat race too. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
make it seem like I'm not. I'm leaving one 9 to 5 to go to the next one. I start Monday.
Mhm.
And I have to, like, there's no, you know,
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't do. See, the difference with you is that you have the entrepreneur mindset. You
Yeah.
already started your own business on the side. You started this. So you're not really necessarily caught in the rat race. You're in the rat race temporarily because your
Yeah.
mindset, that's not the end goal. Some people are comfortable in that for the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
But what you could and should, and I know you would do, is use your W-2 9 to 5, which is basically what I'm doing too,
Mhm.
to fund your entrepreneur stuff, to set yourself up for the
Yeah.
future so that you don't have to stay at that 9 to 5 for 30, 40 years.
Yeah. And I don't like now. Now I'm gonna break some bread with you. Like my goals, and this is why I love that we're having this conversation because we never know. We could be doing business one day, and
Yeah.
we could do some major things. I want to buy real estate. I know that I have some equity, and what's dope about this conversation is, so I have some equity on my property right now, and I always think like we were thinking about getting a pool, and I'm pretty sure since you're in real estate, pools are like 80, 100 grand. So I
Yeah.
was telling the wife,
I
I'm like,
might
hey,
have someone who could get it done for you cheaper, but still.
okay, so you know a guy who knows a
I'm the
guy.
plug. I'm the plug.
No,
I've
no,
met
so
a lot of people in the last year and made a lot of connections.
that's what I'm talking about. We need those. If we get into a pool, and I'm sharing this because I know it would be impactful to anybody that listen to it. If you got
Yeah.
money to do a pool, then by all means. I'm
Okay.
talking about building something for the future. Like we could spend 80 to
Mhm.
$100,000 on a pool, right, and take out a loan or do a HELOC or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or we can use that HELOC to buy another property, put a down payment on another properties to start creating this generational wealth. So, do you have situations like that where you have people that are like, "Hey, I got 100 grand worth of equity. What could I do?" Like, do people come to you for
Yeah.
advice like that?
Yeah. So the thing is, like, there's so many different ways to invest. You don't even have to use that money to buy a property. You could use that money to lend it to an experienced fix and flipper for like a 10% return within 6 months. That 10% return is going to take you 10 years in the bank currently at its current interest rate.
Mhm.
So you can make that 10% in half a year. What would take you 10 years sitting in the bank
Wow.
just by lending it to an experienced flipper at 10% simple interest.
And this is all like contracted stuff. We're
Of
signing
course,
things, all
everything
that.
is done through title. The lender is the first one to get paid before the flipper even makes a profit
Nice. So it gives you it
because
gives
you're
you like
put
the
in first
security.
position on the property. Yep, you're put in first position on the property.
Wow.
So you could do that. You could be the lender. In the real estate investing world, the top of the top when it comes to investors is the lender, not the fix and flipper, not the person who's buying and holding and still and flipping and doing this.
Mhm.
It's the lender because they do the least amount of work for the biggest profit. You also want to partner with an experienced flipper,
Got it.
which I know a few of them. So I can always just connect you. They're always looking for more private money lenders because it allows them to do more deals
Got it.
at a time if they don't have to use their own money. So you partner with experienced investors, you partner with experienced flippers or whatever the case may be, and then you can flip your money a lot quicker than it just sitting in the bank or in the stock market, which is volatile right now.
Gotcha.
And it's a guaranteed return backed by a physical asset, as
Gotcha.
opposed to, the market is kind of shaky. So
I'm still interested in hearing about using your equity for investing in properties. Do you have a story that you could
yeah.
share or your experience in that
Um, you mean like using your equity, like doing a
to
HELOC
invest?
or
Yeah,
something
like
like that?
if I do, let's say in my
Yeah.
situation, if I choose to do a HELOC, and I'm like I want to invest in a property.
So basically, like, let's say what you were explaining about the pool. A lot of people would just go for it, use that HELOC. The pool's gonna make you happy. It's gonna make your kids happy, 100%. Or you could use that money this year to buy, like you said, an investment property. Because if you do that, you're gonna have a payment on that every month, right?
Correct.
You're gonna have an additional payment on that every month. So now
Yeah.
you're increasing your expenses with no additional income coming in.
Got it.
So if you go and you use those funds instead to invest in an investment property, maybe a little duplex. so that you're getting income from both sides. So maybe like a duplex or even a single family house that you put as a rental. If that property is going to cash flow you, let's say $500 or $600 extra a month, right? Now, maybe next year you save that cash flow, and now maybe next year you use that as a down payment to build your pool, and you make those payments for that pool every month with the cash flow that you have coming in from your rental.
You just dropped some gems. That's crazy. That's
And
crazy.
just have that plan in place. Have that roadmap and plan in place. Yes, we're going to have to wait an extra year for this pool, but it's going to be paid for by our tenant and not by us.
And then we have a property already that
And now that property is going to be building equity too, and then you can pull from that equity and go and buy another property and lather, rinse, repeat.
Nice. I like that. Now,
And that's how
listen,
you build generational wealth.
I saw your face when I said the pool. What was that about?
Because I know that it cost about, 60 to 80 grand to build that pool. And if that's not your forever home, and if you're gonna, try to sell that house in a few years, you think that it's gonna add all that extra equity to your house, but it doesn't. An appraiser will only give a pool house, like let's say your house side by side with the house next to you, you're both same square footage, same bedrooms, bath size, same style home. If yours has a pool and theirs doesn't, an appraiser's really only going to give your house an extra $10,000 of value, even though it cost you 80 grand to put that pool in.
This is legit.
Yeah.
Legit. So
legit. That's how an appraiser comps.
The misconception is, I guess during this time when COVID happened, you had people from up north moving down and they had cash in hand because they sold their house up north for whatever amount, and they were paying whatever they wanted, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like people that were trying to put in an FHA loan were getting denied because you had cash buyers.
Cash buyers.
Yep. So I guess in situations like that, you would have benefited having a pool because you have a buyer who has cash in hand. It's like a pool. They don't have to worry about creating the pool in the backyard, none of that stuff. So I didn't know that.
But the market is equalizing now. The market is balancing back out. So you're not going to get the same situation that we had back in like 2021, where people were paying like $100,000 over list price. That's not happening anymore.
Yeah, it is insane because I remember I was in the process of, so before buying this house, we were going to buy a townhouse out in Groveland. And when I first looked at the property, it was like 225. And coming from New York, where houses
beautiful, yeah.
4, 5, 600,000 is crazy. So for me, 225, I was like, oh, perfect. I'm lying. I think I thought it was going to be like 215, 225 was my cutoff. You know how cheap I could be. So 225, I was like, that is it. I'm not going past that. So that house actually sold for 255. And I forget the name of it. Maybe but the comparables, is it called?
Comparables,
Yeah, comparables. Jesus. So the comparables that were within that area, there wasn't much just yet being sold, but because that townhouse sold for 255, now all the houses in the area could sell for just about the same amount, and that was insane.
And then the thing is too, to take into account that kind of inflated the market was hedge funds. Hedge funds were buying like crazy, and they were overpaying for properties. So it drove the market up and it priced a lot of people out.
So my question is, why were they doing that? Was it to get rid of other houses that they had? Like, because I know there's
they were trying to, they were trying to, I don't know what their motive was. I don't know if it was that they were just trying to park their money in assets, or because real estate was so booming, like the interest rates were so low and stuff like that. So they were just like buying like crazy. But they drove the prices up, or maybe it was just they didn't know how to comp these properties. They didn't know what their true value was, because real estate was not their forte. It wasn't their,
Because I
their
remember at one
expertise.
point Zillow was even calling, like they were cold calling, wanting to buy. I
Yeah,
haven't gotten a
Zillow,
call in
Open
a long time.
Door, they bought up a lot of properties and now they have a lot of inventory sitting
Yeah,
because they
in my
overpaid.
community,
And now
they had
people
bought a
can
couple
afford them.
houses, and you see it, and then they're going under whatever they purchased it. Because you can go on
Yep.
Zillow and see what the history of
Yep.
it. So
Yep.
wow,
Open
that's crazy.
Door. So they dumped a lot of money and now they're like upside down on a lot of properties. It inflated the market. So now we're trying to come down, but sellers still think that they could get this much when in
Yeah,
reality people can only afford this much.
that's what I was talking to my wife about too. Like building a pool in this area. Like we don't live in a Longwood or Lake Mary. Like we don't
Hmm.
live in those type of areas. We live in a working class like
Yeah.
city. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like if we spend $80,000 to $100,000 on a pool, I don't, I wasn't too confident that we're gonna see that back when we sell it.
You won't.
And imagine selling something and having to owe where it's like you didn't even break even.
Yeah.
Like you got to
Yep.
wipe out $40,000 when the whole point of eventually selling a house
100%.
is you walk away with a little something so you can put it into the next property.
A lot of people gained a lot of equity in the last, 2 years, but they don't want to sell because they have this super solid interest rate at like 3%.
Yeah,
So if they sell and then they go buy something else, they're not going to get anything as nice, as what they have now for that same price
yeah,
because the interest rates are so much higher. They're more than double
yeah,
than what they might have gotten. So like a $300,000 house at a 4% interest is probably like, let's say, $1,600 a month. But
hmm,
that same $300,000 house at 8% interest, now you're paying like 2,600 a month.
yeah,
And
yeah. We
people
talk
are
about that
not
all the
making that
time.
much more money.
I
People are
told my
not
dad,
making that much more money.
I'm like, if we would have bought the house 2022, we closed. I think we closed in 2021. So if we would have waited just a year or even a couple of months, we would
Yeah,
not
just a couple
we
of
would
months.
not been able to afford where we're at now. And
Yeah, it's true.
that's the scary part because I'm like, when we got down here, it was like, we should have spoke about this in the beginning, but we'll have a different time. Um, where it's like that, when you get down to a new state, there's a lot of learning curves, there's a lot of
Yeah,
struggling, and trying to make it. So it's like initially I would have loved to have purchased when I got here in 2018, which it would have been. We
yeah.
probably would have
Oh
got
my gosh,
a
bro.
pool, two-story house, the whole
Yeah, for the
shebang
same
for like
price.
250, 300,000. Not the case, and I don't dwell on it too much, but yeah, it is
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy the way it is now.
I think that way too because I'm like, dang, like why didn't I come down a couple years sooner?
And
Because
you have family already here, right? Like in different parts of Florida.
yeah, I have some family down here and I'm like, I wish I would have came down like you said like 2019, 2018, but we can't dwell on that like you
Yeah, it
said
wasn't in the
because it wasn't
cards.
our time. It wasn't in our cards. We weren't ready.
It's everybody, it's everybody's dream to be a first time homeowner, right?
Mhm.
Would you suggest for somebody to go and get into a home and pay the interest rate that's out there now? Or would you rather put those people in a situation or recommend for those people to go into a situation where they become investors and can do similar to what you mentioned about the pool, where it's like you put
Mhm.
yourself in a position where you invest and have some residual income coming in from that that'll help
Yeah.
you offset some of those costs of getting into a high interest rate.
Yeah. Well, I think it really depends on their individual goals. And there is ways where you can do both. Because I know people right now that are house hacking. They're buying like a duplex, living in one side, buying it with an FHA, only putting 3.5 down, living in one side for a year, renting out the other side, and then in a year they can do cash out refi, leave the other side rented and pull out all that cash to buy the house that they actually want with the pool.
Wow.
So
So
you
that's
could
the
house
recommendation
hack.
right there, ladies and gentlemen.
You could
That is
house
what.
hack. You could also do that with a single family house that might have like an in-law suite or like an additional dwelling unit in the back that you could rent
Yeah,
out because the bank will give you like up to 75% of the income that you're going to bring in from that additional property
yeah.
on top of your annual income to qualify you for that house or for
Nice.
that duplex or triplex or whatever you decide to go with. So you could do that. It's hard for someone who's trying to buy their first time home, who's never owned a home, to wrap their mind around buying an investment property first if they're not in that mindset.
Correct.
It's
That's very,
very
very
hard.
difficult.
They're like, no, 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 I want to own my own property and that's it. So it's very hard for someone to wrap, because I was that person too.
Yeah, me. I
When
mean,
Ruben mentioned it to me a few years ago, I was that person too. And now I'm like, I'd rather buy an investment property first and then just
yeah,
let that fund my dream house. so,
yeah,
so exactly. So, cause then I can afford more house if I
yeah,
have cash coming in. But, it really just depends. And then for the conventional buyer that still wants to go ahead and buy their first time home, I say 100% go for it now.
yeah.
Because if you keep waiting, you're just going to keep wasting money on renting anyways. You're going to still be paying a mortgage. You're just not going to be paying it for your own house. And if you can get into something that you can afford paying the same, equal, or less than what you're paying in rent, and even if the rates are high, you can always refinance when the rates go down.
Mm, yeah, that's true. Do you think, your personal opinion, do you think they'll ever go anywhere near what we saw during COVID?
I don't think they'll go that low, but they will go down.
Yeah, that's what I see a lot on social, is like, don't, because you're still renting, and rent right now is like, when
Astronomical. Rent is more than mortgages right now. It's crazy.
we left Claremont, it
Mhm.
was gonna be like 1870, and that was 2 years ago, to almost 3 years ago. So I could just imagine what it is now, and that was like, in those
Yeah.
fancy community apartment complexes that have all the
Hmm.
bells and whistles. So I could just imagine it's probably like 2,500, and that is a mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I
I mean,
got to
that's what I'm
Florida,
dealing with now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
when
I
I
live in
got
a
to
fancy community. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. We'll
no, no,
edit that.
sorry, oh, let me mark it. um, when I came down to Florida, we got an apartment. We were paying like 1160. Now, it wasn't the
Beautiful.
fanciest, it wasn't the nicest, but it was more than what. And being from where I'm from, where we're from, to me,
Exactly.
and not saying nothing bad about our neighborhood, but anything was better than staying up there. Like, we were born
Yeah.
and raised up there, so like I could say that, and you
We
know,
survived up there. That's what it
yeah,
was. We freaking
yeah.
survived.
So like, to me, it's like, we were a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. It was a small 900 square foot apartment, and we were happy as could be. But
Hmm.
1160, that same apartment now I think is 1700. The same exact little apartment.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think, if for the listeners, if you are thinking about buying something, I would say, yeah, go for it, because it's only gonna get more
Yeah.
expensive. Inflation doesn't seem like it's gonna stop, and so on.
Exactly. And
But
you also have to educate yourself on all your options. It's not just A or B, especially as a first time home buyer. There's so many programs out there. If you're like a first responder, there's a program out there that you don't have to put like any money down, and they'll cover your closing costs, or you only have to put like a small percent down. There's programs out there that will give you a grant for like $20,000 to put as a down payment on your
yeah,
house, and you just have to live in it for at least 5 years. There's the NACA program. NACA, you don't have to pay closing costs and you don't have to put a down payment. And you don't have to have good credit with NACA.
so
It's like trust based lending.
wow.
So looking into programs like that, depending on what your situation is, can absolutely, you know, help you out. And
So
there's also creative ways, because I'm part of like another mentorship for real estate, that basically with Pace Morby sub 2, that teaches you how to buy these properties without needing any bank or credentials. Like you can take over, like if someone's in pre foreclosure and they're about to lose their house and they have a 3% interest rate, you
yeah,
can give them a down payment, catch up their arrears, give them like 10 grand, catch up their arrears, like the couple months that they owe, and just take over their mortgage at 3% interest.
wow. See, I didn't know about that, and
It's called
I've
subject to the existing mortgage.
it's powerful because, like, some people may see it as like being an opportunist, and it's not whatsoever, because at the end of the day, like, the last thing
No,
you want on your record is a foreclosure.
it's a
You can come back from
foreclosure.
that, like, I'm not saying that, but just to walk away with some money, when you would
Yeah.
have walked away with nothing at all,
Exactly.
in
And you
when it's
can
time to
start
step away.
over. You can go rent an apartment for a year until you get back on your feet.
Yeah,
People go through foreclosure for many different reasons. There's a huge stigma around it. It's not just because, you don't pay your bills or whatever the case may be. People go through health issues. People go through loss of income, loss of a spouse, and now they can't afford the payments that they were
yeah,
making on their house. And they just need somebody to come and give them their solutions.
yeah.
Even if you approach it from a way where you try to save their home first and try for them to exhaust all of the options, maybe doing a loan modification, taking a personal loan, whatever the case may be, to try to save their house. But at the end of the day, if there's nothing else that they can do as an investor, if you come in and you provide them with a solution, like, I will just take over the payments. I will pay for your first month of rent. I'll give you $10,000 to walk away. I'll pay for a moving truck and just sign
How do
over the deed.
Denise? How do people find people like that? Like, where do they go? Like, if somebody is in a tough situation right now and they can't pay, they don't see no way out. Like, how do they find somebody like that? Because it sounds beautiful, and I'm being honest with you, being closed minded. And if I was in a situation like that, like I would feel like I don't have anywhere to go, and I would just let it go. So you shedding light on that for me
Yeah.
too, like God forbid, you never know the way life goes and what can happen. It's
Yeah.
so awesome to hear that there's options like that. Like, where does somebody go for that?
100%. So, Ruben's actually partnering with someone right now where they're getting ready to launch a website for here for Orlando, and his partner has sites set up around, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, different areas around the country.
Yeah,
And it's going to be a resource where people can go on there, and they'll literally talk you through all of your options, ask you if you've already exhausted all these options, and try to even slow down the process if it's, filing for bankruptcy, whatever your decision, whatever, depending on what your situation is.
yeah,
They will assist you with that, and if all else fails, then we will give you the options, to like either buy your house, like I said, subject to, or a cash offer if they have enough equity in it, just to save them from that foreclosure hitting their credit. And it's inbound, like they can go to that website and find those resources.
awesome. So that's
So
not out there
once
just
Ruben
yet,
gets
right?
that, yeah, once Ruben gets that website up and running, I'll send it to you, and
Perfect.
then maybe you can attach it to this video or something. But like finding those people, like if you as an investor and you want to go out there and try to help these people know their options, because like you said yourself, you wouldn't have known about
Yeah,
something like that, known your resources. And whenever somebody goes into pre-foreclosure or notice of default, that's public record, that's on the county record, so anybody can see it, anybody can pull it, and investors and wholesalers will pull those lists and purposely call those people, send them flyers, send them mailers, knock on their doors. They get harassed,
yeah.
basically. So
Wow.
having a website like that where you can literally voluntarily go if you want the help and you're looking
Yeah,
for the help, that you can voluntarily go and just find your options and know that we're realistically trying to help you stay in your house and just being a resource for you if all else fails, so you can just start fresh and not have that foreclosure hit your credit, so that you don't have that on there for 7 years.
nice. That's so awesome. Well, Denise, we're gonna close out
So that's
now.
Ruben's project now.
That's awesome.
I'm
That's
super
awesome to
proud of
hear that.
him.
I want to
Yeah.
thank you once again for being part of the podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you,
Thank you for having
catching
me.
up, and seeing all the beautiful and great things that you're doing. I'm definitely gonna be texting you and bothering you, asking you for more information about this whole movement that you got going on.
Yes.
Um, I'm super proud of you. It's so awesome the growth and how you
Thank
just,
you.
you grind so hard and you weren't afraid to pivot. You moved down to Florida, like all those things. Like we kind of share
Yeah.
a similar path, with the exception of real estate now. Um, but
For
it's so
now.
dope. Yeah, for now it's so dope to see somebody who I know thrive and be as smart as you are and being able to provide information for others. So I want to thank you so much for that. Send my
Thank
hellos to the family. I
you.
wish you guys nothing but the best, and we will remain in contact. Before we do
For sure.
go, please provide people with your Instagram handle, the phone number if you'd like to give that out, anything where people can reach you.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me as well. And as you know, like I'll always provide value. I'm not an expert, but the knowledge that I do know, I'm always willing to share. And if I don't know, I'll find the answer for you. I probably know somebody who does know.
Yeah, that's what's important.
so, if you want to reach me, my Instagram handle is Florida REI Act Queen with FL underscore REIACQQUEEN.
Okay. We'll try to
Right.
put the
And
subtitle there
my
so people
number,
can see it.
yeah, exactly. And then my number, if you want to reach me for deals and stuff like that, is 407-214-3769.
Awesome. All right, Miss Denise Abreu, thank you so much once again. I wish you nothing but luck, love, and success.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.